I want to make a quick point. This series is called Essays on Effectiveness. We are looking at specific icons and the number one thing that makes them effective, and then applying that number one thing to our own lives. This is in no way about the character, the personality, the morality of that person. If you look at the people in your own life, the closest people to you, mentors that you have, there are things about them that you absolutely want, but then there are usually things that you could do without that, right? Because they're human, okay? It's the same thing with these icons. So keep that in mind, that we're talking about effectiveness, and I don't think in any of these situations anyone would disagree that right or wrong, these people are extremely effective. Keep that in mind as we go through this series. Enjoy. Hey, my friend, I hope your week is starting off right. So I couldn't be more excited to bring you what you're going to see today. We're starting this series, and it's called Essays on Effectiveness. Each week, we are going to analyze and look at all the research that I have done for a single icon that is extremely effective. And we're really going to try to pinpoint the one thing that makes them so effective, and then take that thing and through a couple of strategies and tools, apply that to our very own lives. So you get a different facet of what it means to be effective each week, and it's done in a compelling and an interesting way by looking at one of the icons of our day. So this week we're going to look at Donald Trump. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it helps you to be more effective. Stay tuned. All right, so this is Essays on Effectiveness, Donald Trump. And before I get to what I have decided through the tons of research that I have done as to the one thing that makes Donald Trump the most effective, I want to tell you some stories so you'll have context. And the thing that I think makes him most effective could very well be different than the thing that you think makes him most effective. The first story that I want to tell you about is I am administrator of a channel, of a group that is a private group for former members of The Apprentice, meaning former Apprentice alumni. And there were 6 seasons of the regular Apprentice. And so every time there would be a season, more people would get added to this group. I think right now there's about 90 members. And all of these people, besides myself, are former apprentice candidates that Donald Trump selected himself, and or producers or directors of the show. And one thing that has really stood out to me over the years, knowing these people in this capacity, is that when it came to the show, it came down to when Donald Trump wanted to finish the boardroom scenes. Now, if you've ever watched the show, a lot of the time, the last 20 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes of the show is them in the boardroom, and it's this very intense time before someone gets fired. What you don't see is that a lot of the time, an entire day's shoot will be just the boardroom. So this could be 5, 6, 7, 8 hours of shooting. It's absolutely grueling. And it's not the director, it's not the writers, it's not the cameramen who are saying, okay, we've got enough, we're done. It's Donald Trump, okay? He doesn't trust those people. He trusts his own judgment. And it's absolutely grueling, as you can imagine, for the candidates. But it's not done until he feels like it's good enough and he says it's done. He doesn't listen to anybody else in that way. The second story I want to tell you about is Trump's bankruptcies. Okay, this guy he's filed for bankruptcy 4 separate times. One of those bankruptcies was a huge bankruptcy where he had started the Trump Taj Mahal, a casino in Las Vegas. The casino was a bust. It ended up losing hundreds of millions of dollars, ended up losing lots of investors, lots of money. And there's a great story, and this comes from the book The Art of the Deal, which is a great book if you're trying to learn about the psychology of negotiation. But in the book, he says he's with his oldest daughter, Ivanka, and she's just a child at the time. And they're walking down the sidewalk in New York, and they pass by a homeless man who's got his little cup out there. And he says, Ivanka, I want you to look at this homeless man. This man has more money than I do. And he said it was just kind of a low point in his life. What was amazing is at that point, he was hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. So if that homeless man had nothing, he had more money than Donald Trump. And what's amazing is it's very advertised whenever Donald Trump has filed for bankruptcies. You can look back and there are all kinds of people saying he's washed up, he'll never come back, he'll never be wealthy again. And every single time he has come back, despite what all the people around him have said, he's gotten it back every single time. So that's really the second story. The third story that I want to share with you is about the Wollman Rink. This is the NYC Wollman Ice Rink. So for 6 years, the mayor of New York at the time, I believe this was like the late 80s, early 90s, Ed Koch was his name, was trying to get this ice skating rink, this outdoor rink, rebuilt. It had lots of problems and it had just kind of become a shambles. He couldn't get it done. 6 years passed by and he can't get it done. Donald Trump was very vocal despite the political backlash in his views of Ed Koch, the mayor, and other people that were not able to get things accomplished. And the insults that they hurled at him because of that open view didn't matter to him. In fact, even though they insulted him and even though he said, I can do it better, they finally relented and they gave him a contract to rebuild the Wollman Ice Rink. Now, here's what's amazing. For 6 years, they'd been trying to get it done, get through the bureaucratic red tape. Donald Trump got the contract 3 months and under budget. The Wollman Ice Rink is done. It's in use to this very day in New York. And then finally, really the fourth and final story is Trump running for president. Now, this is not a post at all on political views. It's specifically about Trump's effectiveness. I think we can all agree that there were a lot of people, a lot of haters whenever it came to Trump even thinking about running for president. You can even YouTube celebrities who said Trump will never be president. That's ludicrous. People like George Clooney and just a whole myriad of these celebrities who said it will never happen. And people who vocally came out against him like Miley Cyrus, who I don't think has moved to Canada yet. But all of these people that said, I'm going to do crazy things if he becomes president. Now, you have to know at this point, Donald Trump, he has access to all of this, right? You don't have to be a Donald Trump expert to have heard the things I just told you. Everybody knows that stuff. But somehow he's able to put blinders on and not listen to these people. And that vocal, apparently, very vocal minority or majority, however you want to look at it, of people that were really against him, that didn't make it to his ears. If it would have, he would not have ran. And if it would have, he would not be our president. And many, many people were stunned that he became president of the United States. So that's really the four stories. Now, having said that, let me tell you what I believe in my research is the number one thing that makes Donald Trump effective. It's not his ability to make deals, although I think that's really his bread and butter. The number one thing that makes Donald Trump effective, he doesn't listen to the haters. And I think I would go as far as to say is he doesn't hear the haters. He's developed that muscle so much. And I think these stories really prove that. So rather than just telling you stories about Trump, how do you apply this to your own life? And I'm really going to give you 4 points of how to apply it to your own life. Number one, and this is for me specifically, if I have an idea that I want to bring into reality, bring in from the ether, then the first thing that I do is I want to make sure it's in alignment with my relationship with God, which also means that it's in alignment with the relationship of those closest to me, like my wife. So that's the first thing that I do. If it meets that standard, then I move on to step 2, and that's really this. I go to a few people, just a few of the closest people to me, and tell them the idea to get their thoughts on it. Of course, my wife first, and then I have a couple of mentors that I will go to, and that's really it. There's a great TED Talk. I don't remember who said it, but they've done these studies that if you tell a whole bunch of people whatever your goal is or that big thing you're wanting to accomplish, Number one, you get a huge high actually from just telling them about it. And what they say is that it's a high, it's almost the same feeling as if you've actually already accomplished something, even though you've done nothing. So it's better never to say anything to anyone outside that small group. And the second reason is people will say you can't do it, especially if it's a big goal. And I've seen that in my own life with people close to me, and I don't really fault them for that. And here's why. When somebody comes to you and they ask you if they can do something, if you ever feel like they really can't, what you're really doing is you're projecting your beliefs about yourself onto them. It's very hard for someone, for many people, most people, to feel like you can do something if they can't do it themselves. So that's really that point, is that you really want to just keep it to the people that are closest to you, whatever it is that you want to accomplish. That's really number two. Number three is you want to be aware, you want to be self-aware, and just saying that right there, you want to be able to look at yourself, and you want to not be oblivious and see how much the hate and the love is affecting you. To really see how much the love affects you, you can look at, or the hate affects you, you can look at how much the love affects you, because they're both really from one and the same muscle. It's feeling that significance or lack of significance from those that are around us. How much does that affect you, and how much does your emotion get saddled with however people feel about you? Just being aware of that a lot of the time will help you to course correct. So you really need to just self-assess. How much does the hate get to me, and how much does the love get to me? And if you see that happening, just take your focus back to what's most important and the people that are most important. That's really number three, the self-assessment. And then number four has three parts. And honestly, I said all that to say this. This whole video leads up to this. And if you take these three parts in dealing with the hater, it'll be huge for your life. Here it is. Number one is you need to look at the results of whatever you're doing. Okay, that's the first R. Look at the results. See if you're getting a result. See if you're getting a good enough result, or how you want to improve the result. Number two, you need to recalibrate. Okay? Don't keep doing what you're doing, but constantly be fine-tuning your method of getting whatever it is that you're trying to get. Recalibrate that so you can continue moving in the right direction. And then finally, so you need to look for the result, you need to recalibrate, and then number three, and finally, you need to rush forward. When you're taking action that comes from here, it keeps you out of here. So if you want to put those blinders on, because again, we're saying that's what makes Donald Trump the most effective, I have to believe that Donald Trump does not even hear that stuff. At this point in his life, he's 70 years old. He's now the president of the United States. I have to believe that when somebody says he can't do it or shouldn't do it or insults him, he's got those blinders on. He can't hear it. He can't see it. He just moves forward. He rushes forward. So I hope you take those three things. I flew through this. There's a blueprint. You can download that at thestretchgame.com. It'll also have your 7-day challenge on it. Anything that you want to accomplish that's worthwhile, don't listen to the haters. Move forward. And remember, this week is a gift. Do two things with it. Be both purposeful and productive. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you next time.